Shibuya Hachi, famed abandoned dog, gets his own show where he diabolically stops waiting for his owner by having the absolute gall of dying of old age. Ignoring Hachi's long-held desire to simply die in peace and live with his departed owner, he is cruelly resurrected and is forced to enjoy days out with his friends and other statues, including Abril Nelson, Martin Luther King, and Genghis Khan. You Are Miss Servant is a strangely nostalgic title for me, as my mother has always called me something similar, namely, You Are Mistake. I was once offered the position to be a maid man, but when I turned up in the dress, I was simply kicked out of the mafia. Unfortunately for our blustering loser of an MC that I'm sure he is, it turns out that, get this, she can't actually perform the tasks of maid, and is actually an assassin in disguise. Quite frankly, she'll be getting terrible trusted advisor reviews, as clearly this was false advertising. Also, Hachi has really let himself go since being revived. All but the movements of Earth, a flat earther's nightmare. Much to my chagrin and ruining my joke entirely, it is actually about round earther Raphael. The story follows two cunts who plagiarise his work and try to sell it without catching the eye of the Inquisition, something the Ordo Hereticus would never allow. Low-key, this could actually be the best show of the season and looks quite good. Tombo, or as the better manga name and far easier for British people to announce, Oi Tombo, is about a former pro golfer who flees to an island to retire, which you all know is code word for tax evasion, and meets a young player on a course made by the islanders. With such a sickly sweet animation style, it actually gave me type 2 diabetes. Kagaku Bokken Survival seems to be an education series for the Japanese youth, where they can learn valuable life skills with this time a focus on survival. With confirmed topics of insects, extreme weather and artificial intelligence, I too have been approached to create a British version. Thus far I've narrowed down the key survival points for all British children of wearing chainmail, how to twist off handcuffs, and lastly, how to share needles. Ranma Half is about a guy who when splashed by water turns into a girl. This opens the question of what is the definition of being splashed by water. In the case of urination, at what point does the liquid become water? Technically, as the piss stream is expelled, there is a line of liquid that connects to the body, technically making him wet. And if it doesn't, does the water molecules have to be over a certain amount to constitute water? If you extracted piss from the urea water, would he then change? Part 3 of Bleach the 1000-Year Blood War, which is also what women call the battle for menstrual hygiene, is more Bleach. Surprisingly, I'm actually up to date with this arc, and what I was... Oh, hold on, I've got more Ranma questions. In the case of diarrhea, which is mostly liquid, does that constitute getting wet? Anyway, Blue Lock Japan Under 20, not to be confused with Blue Locks Japan Under 20, which is most weebs' ideal girlfriend, is the follow-up to the football anime where players must compete to be the world's most ultimate striker. Isagi, I imagine, is going to particularly struggle during the Ronaldinho phase, as this involves doing skill moves, going home with prostitutes, and eventually being sent to prison. Next up we have If My Wife Becomes an Elementary School Student. Naturally, this wins the episode's biggest sex offender award. In what's sure to be a minimum of 15 years in prison anywhere else in the world, I'm sure he's going to get a fine or at least a strong telling off in Japan. 7 Deadly Sins, I Don't Give a Shit, is more 7 Deadly Sins. It turns out that all of the people still watching 7 Deadly Sins suffer not from lust, wrath, envy, greed, sloth or gluttony, but the 8th secret deadly sin, simply known as being fucking brain dead. In possibly the biggest case of shitting the bed since me as a toddler, I couldn't care less about a series that possibly had some of the best first couple episodes in recent memory. Long Live Superstar, which happens to be the long-awaited sequel to Jesus Christ Superstar, is another idol-based show and another season. Who, much like the Healer show from earlier, I'm going to totally guess the plot and rely on my sledging engagement statistics to tell me the truth. Misaki, whose name I've just made up, dreams of becoming an idol, but she's shy like a rural hedgehog, until she meets Kisa, a rough but nice girl, and another one who's weirdly quiet all the time. They create a girl group and sing about something with a strong hint of lesbian subtext, and it will kind of sound like this. Imano Timbai. This is probably going to need another live watch. Oh shit, the MC's outgoing. Points down for me. Ooh, longing embraced, lesbian subtext. Let's check the songs. Puniro is a Cute Slime is a heartfelt and moving journey of a slime girl seeking justice for all of the slime genocide of her people, perpetrated by the war criminals at Nickelodeon in the mid-90s. I'm sure it's going to be about a slime or something, but my one's better. For the British among you who may have misheard the title, and thought I said Poon Hero, this sounds like a J quote.
One bent over the table here, there was one up here who I was fingering, and I was just toe fucking the one on the floor.
So, oh no, I've got more Ranma. Okay, so we have to question what constitutes getting wet, and we have to seriously look at how humidity affects his girl transformation. If we consider that parts of Japan have high levels of humidity due to its tropical location, then at what point would the water accumulation molecules in the air being caught in the fabric become technically wet? MF Ghost, MF Doom's hype man, is back with a second season of street racing antics, where a young man is searching for his dad after being abroad and training to be a Formula 4 racing driver. Honestly, I'd probably have fired a missing person's port, but that's just me.
Deja vu, I've just been in this place before, higher on the street, and I know it's my time to go.
Sorry. Taishu era contract marriage is once again, as you can imagine, about another arranged marriage. Indians, you may once again rejoice. The will they won't they fall in love drama is slightly soured, as it only takes place every time he's back home and not committing horrific war crimes in post-World War I China. After School Hanako-kun Season 2 follows up on the titular Hanako, a spirit that protects the school from occults and spirits. I'm personally glad Hanako was not around at my school when I was younger, as all you've had to deal with was me crying in the toilets for my mum. Natsume's Book of Friends may be a difficult plot to understand for many of you, but I will do my best. So a friend is someone who likes you, and a book is something that people read. It appears to be about his mum snatching people's souls, so naturally I DM'd her immediately. Oh, I've got another Ranma question. So if he becomes pregnant when he's in the girl form, and then he turns back into the man, what happens to the baby? Does it just disappear, or does it sort of turn to dust like Thanos? Anyway, Ron Kamehashi's Forbidden Deduction Season 2 is about someone who surprisingly got kicked out of the police force. Usually if you're in the police force and beat up a minority, they just put you on paid leave before moving you around to another police department. Much like Catholic priests, I suppose. So Ron must have been caught on film. No word yet on whether Ron was just off screen during the murder of George Floyd, but that's what I suspect. He teams up with some detective and solves mysteries or some shit. Good news, India, we have more arranged marriages. This one is about an arranged marriage between a crime family and not your cousins. Sorry, Alabama, this one might be a stretch for you. Unfortunately for our groom-to-be, his fiancée turns out to be a massive fucking idiot, and she's surprised when he, the heir to a crime family, engages in crimes. Next up, we have a terrified teacher at ghoul school. Surprisingly, this isn't about the difficult teaching scenarios faced by teachers during the American opioid crisis, but in fact refers to actual ghosts who scare the new hire. I can't exactly say that my time at school didn't involve giant monsters and perverts. Oh wait, yes it did. The do-over damsel conquers the dragon emperor, which is, I'm fairly sure, the exact same premise of a recently aired anime. And yes, I checked, it is. The do-over damsel follows the time-travelling main character who gets sent back and must, marry her future mortal enemy for the good of the kingdom. Not sure whether this is technically an arranged marriage, so India, please contain yourself. This trope of marrying someone who is likely to kill you is the Japanese equivalent of listening to true crime podcasts and dreaming of getting ploughed by murderers. Oh wait, he doesn't have the consent of the girl before the ring goes on. Alabama, we're back.
Sweet home, Alabama. Oh, sweet home, baby.
Tonoto Inu is about a now impoverished lord in exile finding solace and comfort in an abandoned corgi who had lost their owner, the exact opposite of the life of Prince Andrew. Nina, the Starry Bride, is an absolute double whammy. Not only is it about a young girl being prepared for an arranged marriage, but it's also kidnapping, so we'd not only hit the Indian demographic, but also fully regrain the Alabamans too. I was surprised to see after wishing to be useful, she wasn't turned into a 55-year-old DIY YouTuber, but is made a princess instead. Oh, I've got another one. If he shits in the toilet and it splashes up, does that technically make him wet? Anyway, Dragon Ball Daima is the latest in the Pillar of the Dragon Ball series, but this time Goku and his friends are turned into children, where I presume shenanigans will ensue. I genuinely think that this is so uninteresting that I'd rather dip my cock in yogurt and let seagulls pick it apart. The problem with me and Dragon Ball is that if I wanted to watch two people scream at each other, I'd just go downstairs to see my parents. Blue Mibu tells the story of a justice-inspired young man who become embroiled in a time of great upheaval, as wandering Ronin from all across the land become to form the first police force in Japan. With that being said, I won't talk anymore without my lawyer present. I can't say that I've ever cried in place and clenched my fists, but it did almost happen when I nearly pissed myself at a primary school dance. Shangri-La Frontier is the second season of the video game-based power fantasy that you'd come to expect from the moment someone mentions the term VR MMO RPG. Arafuta from Commonplace to World's Strongest, a title that British legend Eddie Hall should take legal action against, is, oh, fuck me, another class summoned to a world, but he's got bad powers and he gets cast away, and then he somehow finds a harem at the bottom of a dungeon. Okay, I'm quickly going to look up the synopsis for the first seasons, and... Yeah, I was spot on. With the express power in a magical world to simply pull a strap and let the 40 bang, our MC proves that he's based all of what he believes cool from early 2000s rap videos. Future Folk Tales 2, aka What Will Happen to the Notorious Somerset Gimp, or Purple Aki, is a Saudi Arabian anime. I was going to make a joke about the girl character not having any devastatingly sexy ankle on display, but it turns out my joke was right and it's covered, and that's far funnier than anything I could have come up with. Kumbara looked like too much of a kid show to cover, but when I saw the premise of a bear who receives an SOS message from the internet and dives in, it was way too good to pass up. Join Kumava as he ventures too far into the internet and becomes face to face with a cartel beheading video, and also that guy who likes to swim in septic tanks, who I probably can't show, but I'll try. Rurouni Kenshin, Meiji Kenkaku Romatan Kyoto Duran, the classic series remastered for modern idiots, is back with another edition, and so I will do my best to explain what the series is about. Join our main character as he struggles to deal with a debilitating illness called being a massive pussy disease, as he decides that he will no longer kill and becomes a simp instead. And yes, before you comment, I am a wolf, and so my insatiable bloodlust cannot be contained. Next up we have Kami Arabi God App Season 2. I tried watching some of the first season, but I saw quite possibly the stinkiest animation I have ever seen. I immediately got off on the wrong foot with the series, as they were calling their little killing game the God App, and everyone knows that the real God App is Little Plus. Seirei Gensoki's Spirit Chronicles is what you would get if you take all original concepts known to man, set fire to them and then piss out the flames. The second season of any isekai is a difficult moment for the author, as they come to the sudden and catastrophic realization that they have to write something beyond bumbling loser inexplicably becomes good at things and now gets attention from women. This seems to be one that you can only enjoy with a traumatic brain injury. Haiga Korra is about a young man tasked with capturing the 4 evil gods, presumably Korn, Nurgle, Tzeentch and Slaanesh, to bring back stability to the world and the Imperium of Man. One thing I don't understand about these type of shows is that the Japanese government simply doesn't do what ancient Sparta did, and throw certain children off a cliff. If I saw a child that had colourful hair and was already in a hairstyle from outside the womb, I'd throw it off the cliff myself. Lyrical selection, aka what I have to do is to not say the N-word when singing a rap song in public, I think is another Magical Girl series. I could have actually looked up the show to make at least a half-hearted attempt at a joke, but it was far funnier to me to imagine an anime girl reading questionable lyrics, such as Yin Yang Twins.
ドロップイットダウントゥザフロワイフ You a bad bitch.
Neko ni Tensei Shita Oji-san. I will give this a pass when it comes to Reincarnation anime, as it simply involves an old man becoming a cat. Whether he uses his newfound powers for good, such as hitting children in the head, or evil, which means showing his arsehole, remains to be seen. Winning the hard-fought title of this episode's Wankest Title Award, The Most Notorious Talker Runs the Greatest Clan, is about a guy who can talk well, I suppose. The idea of being a notorious talker is very funny to me, as it sounds like he exclusively communicates through slurs. I like the idea that a main character with a developed frontal cortex, and thus the ability to communicate, instead of going, I know, is considered a godlike power. Next up we have Pochazu. I couldn't actually find any info on Pochazu except for this image, and I'll be damned if I let a bunch of fat round cunts take the limelight, as that's my job. Demon Lord 2099 I thought was how the citizens of Night City from Cyberpunk 2077 discuss my narcotic-fueled rampages in hushed tones under their breath. Turns out it's actually about a guy coming back as a Demon Lord, another trope we've heard way too much of. You know what? No one can write a story about being Demon King or Demon Lord anymore. We have to focus on far more important things, such as if Ranma coated himself in wax and then it rained, technically it wouldn't have made contact with his skin, so could the transformation be avoided? Lastly, Mecha Arms is about aliens who come to Earth and bind with a host to form powerful abilities like robot arms, a show that I'm sure will have about as much fisting as going to a club after a gay pride event. With clearly a mechandroid claw, our MC is simply in denial about being a member of the Adeptus Mechanicus. So that was the winter anime. Go fuck yourself. Bye!